I hope quick video. I'm having to do one because apparently I've buggered my algorithm because I've not been doing any videos through summer, you know. I want to have some time off, but apparently you all forget that the channel exists if I don't do videos all the time, so I'm going to have to do one. I'll just apologise, you might keep hearing a crow in background, but I've actually got back doors open because it's absolutely roasting. Which is why I've got this lightweight cooling shirt on. It's the only time I wear it actually because I can't stand it. But quick talk about transfers incoming this season. It doesn't interest me where it used to. It does, obviously I want Wednesday to sign players, I want us to strengthen the squad, but I've got to a stage now where, and until I see them with scarf above head or until I see them out on pitch, it's like, you know, rumours and that, it doesn't do out for me. It did when I was a kid, I used to get really excited. Used to ring that club call, do you remember that? Wednesday after striker, ring up. 20 minutes of ticket news and blah blah blah, and then bill would come through, you know. Your parents would be like, I've been ringing 0800 numbers, what's all this about? You'd be too embarrassed to admit it was a club call. You'd be like, oh yeah, it was back at Escort magazine. Big juicy mamas or something, I don't know. Anyway, club call, yes. In the days before the internet. Dead excited that Dad, but after this French bloke, Eric Cantona. I think it's probably pronounced Cantona, son. No, it's Cantona, I know how to read that. Yes, club call, great days. Kingsley Black. But we have signed some players and they are actually on the books at the club now. They've actually played some friendly games, so I'm just going to have a quick run through at transfers and see where they might fit into the team. Now we've bolstered at centre-back with the signing from Norwich of Akinfenwa. Yes, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm going with a silent W until I'm told otherwise. Akinfenwa, that's what I'm going for. Apparently a fee of £54,000. That's got to be a misprint. It really has. These days it's often undisclosed fee, isn't it? 50 grand, I mean, is that here or there? I mean, it's probably 2 weeks' wages for one of their players at Norwich, so is it really worth even doing from their point of view? I don't know. But anyway, 23-year-old centre-back, happy with that. Apparently, left foot can also play left full-back at a push. And that's something Darren Moores talked about a lot. He likes players who can play various positions. Don't want to get into Marvin Johnson at centre-half last season. That's not for me, but first sign, he centre-half over the line. I'm happy with that. Will Volt's coming from Cardiff, and this one's actually on a free transfer. This is a signing I'm really, really happy about, especially with the situation with Luongo leaving, under a little bit of confusion. Terrific player. To get a player down from Championship at 28, which I'd consider peak age, that's a terrific bit of business from Wednesday. Over 300 games at that level, and a Welsh international as well. Gets a footing in midfield, he's got a real drive, and of course at a push he can also cover it at right fullback. Terrific signing, that one for Wednesday. Really, really impressed with that. Like I said, especially with the situation with Luongo. That Luongo thing, you know, that seemed to drag on funny, didn't it? And then they would a tweet where Wednesday were like, oh, he's left the club, blah blah, and then he tweeted and I'm like, have I? I'm looking at that, reading between lines, and think Wednesday must have put some sort of deadline on it and said, right, you know, we don't want to do late business because last season, but 10 days before the season started, we've got about 9 first-team players. They don't want to repeat that situation. If he's not going to sign, they needed to know. Obviously, get Volks in, so I think they've probably put a deadline on it, and I think perhaps his agent has been, well, let's hang fire, let's see if we can get out else, and then we'll sign for Wednesday if it doesn't work out. I suspect something like that, so bit of a deadline from Wednesday. It's not been signed, move on. And to be honest, as much as I love Luongo, and I really did, I loved him, I thought he was a terrific player, club's got to look after itself. You can't be hanging fire and, oh yeah, well, hang on and see what he does, and then he decides to leave and you've got nobody lined up. So too many times in past Wednesday you've got stiffed with stuff like that. So fair play to him. I really like Luongo, although he only played 90 odd games over the 3 years or whatever it was. So as good as he was, the injury problems were starting to mount up, and you know, we've got in here in Volks a younger player who can do a similar job. So really good business from Wednesday and fully understandable. And a big one really, Michael Smith, 30-year-old striker from Rotherham, free transfer. Obviously that's upset them, but again, great business from Wednesday. Really pleased with Smith signing. Now I know there's been a bit of banter between Wednesday fans and Rotherham fans. I've not really got any interest in that. I'm sure they'll be upset about it and they've come calling and nicked him, but that's just the way things in football, isn't it? If a team from Championship or Premier League comes to one of our players, I'm sure they'd be off, or the offer would be seriously considered anyway. Really pleased with his signing. Obviously his size, he's a goal scorer. I look at that game against Rotherham last season at home. We completely dominated them for 90 minutes. 2 moments he scored a goal, and one of them was a goal from him, and it was a cracking strike. That little bit of quality and someone who's got the confidence to take a shot on and remain calm. The other thing is, big unit, 6'3". He'll help us defending set pieces and corners, which were a big problem last season. I know I did a couple of videos about the number of headers that we concede from set pieces. Our back line wasn't the biggest. That is something Darren Moores looks to have addressed. But equally within that, set pieces, corners, it's not always about your defenders in there. Full-backs are generally smaller, aren't they? But if you look like Newell, it took a lot of stick for it not scoring many goals. Although, our second top goal scorer since we left Premier League. But anyway, defending set pieces, if you've got somebody 6'3" centre forward who can come back, and you can get your less physical players, your less decent technical headers up pitch for counter attack, fair enough. So I think we'll have had one eye on that when we were signing him, that he'll be useful in both boxes. Probably the quickest way to say it, if I should have said that from the start. The other thing I'm pleased about with his signing is big unit, mobile, goals record, but Lee Gregory, obviously our top scorer last season, but talked several times. I thought Gregory's best games last season actually probably came with Canberra. Now, whatever the limits of Canberra as a footballer, and often his second touch with a tackle, he was a busy bastard. He was a busy bastard, and he was all shoulders and arse and elbows, and he occupies defenders. And when you've got somebody like that bashing folks about, and like I say, occupying defenders, it creates them little pockets of space, and Lee Gregory looked to expose those spaces and get in those gaps in and around him, in that little orbit of confusion around him. I think if Smith can do a similar job to that, but obviously bring in a far better goal scoring record, jobs are good as far as I'm concerned. Now, along with Smith, we brought in Michael Heckway. He impressed me actually other year when we played these in Championship, albeit we went down. Only 6'1", but very mobile. That's what I'd noticed about him before. Apparently he's a Scouser. Plenty of Championship experience. Can play on either side at 3, and I think he's going to be a really useful addition. You know, over 200 games, many of them in Championship level. So again, strengthening back, 29-year-old. So for the centre half, I would say he's approaching peak year. So again, that's another bit of common sense signing there for Wednesday. The other signing we've made at centre half is Ben Hennigan. Now I'm really quite pleased about this one. Impressed me when I saw him last season. This lad, 6'2", and what I like is he's no nonsense centre half. He is edit, kick it, kick man. Great. Sometimes you need someone who's just going to say, do you know what, I'm not going to try and keep hold of that. That's going it back at North Stand. Sometimes you need that, especially in this division. In this division, it can't be nice all the time. Some teams ain't got the budgets, they ain't got nice players, they do what they want. I mean, Christ, look at bloody Accrington Stanley last season. Look at what a game that were. Look at the Wickham games, horrible games of football. Oxford to a certain extent. It's not always going to be nicey, and sometimes you've got to fight fire with fire. And a big lad like him, 6'2", big mank in there, not afraid to get his head in, get his foot in, and I'm a big fan of defenders who defend first and of footballers second, if you like. So terrific signing. So we've got these 3 in: Heckway, Hennigan, Akinfenwa. I like the fact we're getting big lads in who I'm sure won't be afraid to do dirty when it needs to be done. I'm really pleased with that. Could we do with one more back there? I still think it's probably one of Callum Patterson's better positions, but you know, we have got that covered here. Obviously young Brennan's gone out on loan, so really pleased with our signings there at back. Now obviously Wildsmith's gone out, gone off to get some game time at Derby, and I wish him best of luck. I think he was promising. I do seem to remember he had that bad handbrake, didn't he? And of course, the cloud of Westwood. Whoever, I do feel sorry for Dawson and Wildsmith in that sense. I'm not saying that either of them's ever going to be a great championship keeper or whatever, or going to do great things, but while Westwood were here, sort of lurking at the training ground, that shadow was always over him, and the scrutiny they were under, I think, were far greater than it would have been. So Wildsmith's left, good luck to him, all the best. And we brought in Stockdale. Now some wag at work. Oh, if you brought him as a goalkeeping coach, Jimmy's ancient. Well, yeah, he's 36 years old, but I'm pleased with that. Kevin Keegan famously said, didn't he, goalkeepers aren't born till they're 30, which, barmy. But you know what he meant. You know what I mean? You know what he means. It's a different timeline, really, with keepers. So 36 is nothing, really. It's probably in his peak. Because experience is more valuable, I think, when you're in net. Whereas young players, outfield players, look at somebody like Berahino, who's also been released. Some players never get any better than they are at 17, 18. They've got that burst, they've got that bit of a flash, and then they plateau out. Goalkeepers, it does tend to be the other way, I think. So 36, plenty of experience. Obviously, Wickham last season. And we'll talk about experience. Game management, shithousery, plenty of that. We saw it evidenced twice last year, so I think he'll be a useful addition to the squad, especially in that back line. We've got a new back line, 3 players in there, and I'm sure he'll be vocal in there in letting them know what's what. So really pleased with that. And then the last signing is Reese James, who's this left back. Handsome bastard. Played for Darren Moores before at Doncaster Rovers, although while listening to the radio the other day, and apparently a few Donny fans saying he actually played more as a number 10 when he was there. But predominantly a left back, left wing back, and can do a job in centre midfield and left wing. So useful player, utility player. The good thing is it gives us a bit of competition on left hand side with Marvin Johnson. Marvin had a couple of fantastic months last year. He probably had a spell of 7 games, I'd say, where they were absolutely phenomenal. And then I thought he did start to look a little bit tired towards the end. But when you're playing as wing back, you've got nobody in front of you, you've got nobody behind you. That is a lot of motoring you're doing, and that will take its toll. So somebody like Reese James to come in, you can slot them in interchangeable into that system, that 3-5-2, and give people a rest when they need it. And the games do come thick and fast in this division. So overall, having a look at that, I do think that is very good business from Wednesday all the way through there. We've got the 3 centre halves in, a no-nonsense one in the middle. As you can see, Akinfenwa playing on the left-hand side, a Heckway on the right. Stockdale in the net brings us that experience. We've got more competition there at left-back. Will Volk's a terrific signing. He's going to be in midfield. I've got no qualms about that, and I'm sure he'll be wanting to push and try and get himself towards that Welsh World Cup squad. And of course, Michael Smith at centre forward, probably what every fan of every club wants to see, a big towering striker who knows where the net is. So that's my transfer roundup, and what I was going to do, I was going to very quickly show you how them players might slot into the first 11 and various little formations and stuff that Darren Moore can use going into this new season. But I realise I'm up to my like 12-minute video limit because you lot ain't got attention span. So what I'm going to do that as a separate video. I'll probably put that on in a bit, and expand in a bit more detail on it. Start doing Wordle, crosswords at night, Saturday playing with sense. Good and Benny. Anyway, good transfer window from Wednesday. Very impressed with players we've got in. Think it brings a balance, and as I'll explain in my next video, I think it's going to give Darren more opportunity to use different systems as and when required as well. Anyway, I'm going to go out, get a bit of sun on my head and have a cup of tea. See you in a bit. Oh, and subscribe and all, and press that little bell button, because that way you get a notification when I put a new video up, which I'm going to do in a bit. Hit that little bell. See you in a bit.